Poor Kentucky. All right, let's talk about Kentucky. It's a perfect transition into the Blue Bloods. I believe I can't remember exactly what we said, but when we said
Kentucky
about,
is back.
when we said
Kentucky is back.
It was on the last podcast. We were like, Kentucky is going to go on the road and they're going to play at Tennessee, and who knows, maybe they'll win. And then we all started laughing when we said,
"Oh, you two started laughing."
And Kentucky could win at Tennessee, and we were like,
I was
happening. There's no way Kentucky's winning at Tennessee. And you know what? They went into Tennessee and they kind of kicked some volunteer ass just a little bit. Now,
they did.
There is one point that I want to make, because
rivalry game.
The rivalry game stuff matters, and we'll kind of get into all that. But Severe Wheeler did not play, T.O.
That's huge.
And without Severe Wheeler on the floor and with no Damian Collins, Calipari was forced to go to a lineup that had a banged up Cason Wallace at the point, Antonio Reeves, CJ Frederick, Jacob Toppin, and Oscar Tshiebwe, right? That lineup outscored Tennessee 29-14 on Saturday. Heading into the game, that lineup had only played 20 possessions together. I'm getting all this data from Evan Miyakawa, evanmaya.com. Great analytics site. And in 20 possessions this season, their adjusted efficiency margin was 107.5, which is so large. Like, just to put that in comparison, that's literally like saying a dude averaged 100 points a game. Like, that number just doesn't happen. An efficiency margin better than most teams' adjusted offensive efficiency number is absolutely insane. So
yep.
I asked
Cason Wallace couldn't move.
Yeah, and he was banged. He looked like me with a thrown out back, dude. Like, you could see how much he was hurting. So I asked you, T.O., is this the gift that Coach Cal needed? Did this shine a light on him that said, we need to play Cason Wallace with two shooters and a four-man that can at least kind of pretend to space it a little bit? Is he going to see the light? Are we going to see more of this lineup from John Calipari?
I don't know. Did you watch a post-game presser?
I did.
I think it has more to do with Calipari taking away their computers and their cell phones. Come on, man. Like, you were forced to put the right guys on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
You were forced to put the right guys on the floor. And guys, sometimes that's how that works. Like, you stumble on some of these things by accident. And really, I like Severe Wheeler as a player. I think there's certainly a role for him on that team. It's as an energy guy off the bench, where you need a quick change of pace for 10 to 12 minutes. That's where his role should be. Cason Wallace should be running that team. And then you need Antonio Reeves and CJ on the wings. Jacob Toppin, I'm halfway sold on him, but like, if he can moderately space the floor, like, that's your lineup. And then once Cason Wallace is healthy enough to put some rim pressure on there for you, that's your lineup. So it's a team that's good. It's a team that's tough. And I'll be honest with you, man, Oscar Tshiebwe impressed me a little bit, because he was able to put up with Uros Plavsic, like, just hacking and fouling. And he might be the biggest 7'2" irritant I've ever seen. Like, he goes in there, he plays hard, but there's a walking
cheap shots. Like, there's elbows.
He's a walking flagrant foul.
Mm-hmm.
That's all he is. And I get it. Like, that's your role, but he takes it too far, in my opinion.
Sometimes, yes. But to see, the big thing for me, Fanta, was that Kentucky. So there was two things. One, they dealt with all of that and they never lost their composure, right? We're going to get into a team that lost their composure, couldn't handle a little bit of shit talking in a little bit here, but they never lost that composure. They also dug themselves an 8-point hole. And it was the kind of thing where, like, we were texting it, man. We were texting, like, they're going to lose by 40. They're going to get run out of this gym. And they fought back. Like, they didn't roll over and die. That, to me, that was the impressive part about this team. Like, I was concerned, John, that Cal had lost this locker room. I'm not concerned that he's lost that locker. There's fight there. They still want it.
Rivalry game.
Rivalry game.
Like, they play Georgia next at home. Last time they played at home, they lost South Carolina.
Here's the thing. Oscar Tshiebwe took it upon himself early in the game to say, you know what? I'm tired of this. I am sick and tired of this. If you were watching the game, you saw him hit a couple of shots, and they would show his face or his emotion off of it. And you got to give Tshiebwe a lot of credit, because he's the guy who, during this losing spell, he even said it at one point in a post-game press conference, that he's just trying to get his guys to understand the magnitude and everything that they're going through, and that he's the leader and that he can be that guy. Mm-hmm. I appreciate that from Oscar Tshiebwe. I thought he took ownership on Saturday. Here's the deal. They found a lineup that defensively can impact the game. They got stops. Now, I'm going to get to that to Tennessee in a moment. And Antonio Reeves gave them 18 points. I mean, they found a way to get scoring from Antonio Reeves and CJ Frederick. The problem is that hasn't happened, not just on an every game basis, but like on an every 2 or 3 game basis. It just hasn't occurred. So as much as I thought that they found something defensively, and the biggest takeaway is that the fight came out of this group. On at least one day, we saw why we've been so hard on them. The reason why we've been so hard on them is because you think in your head, well, they should be able to be competitive with Tennessee. They weren't just competitive. They really dictated much of the game, shorthanded. So that's why we've been as harsh as we've been on you, Kentucky, because we think highly of you, but you have totally underperformed. I don't think that this group unveiled anything offensively on Saturday. I think they also caught Tennessee on the right day.
Yes.
I mean, the fact is, Zakai Ziegler and Santiago Vescovi combined to shoot 7 for 25.
How many layups did Zakai miss?
Oh,
Like 17, man.
Josiah Jordan James went 2 for 8 from the floor and 1 for 6 from 3. Josiah, you went 1 for 6 from 3. Stop shooting after you take 3 threes. That's enough. Tennessee, I don't trust. I haven't trusted. I can't trust. I don't trust their upside. I think that they, once again, will be a first weekend disappointment in the NCAA tournament.
I'm upset because, like, how many times do you put the ball in Vescovi's hands at the end and, like, he can't create anything?
Yep.
And they just keep freaking doing it. They keep doing it and they keep doing it and they keep doing it. Eventually it's got to be like, hey, guys, like, let's try something else.
In big spots.
In big spots. And guys, I know he's my guy. Julian Phillips took 2 freaking shots. He's the guy that can get somewhere.
Wasn't he in foul trouble? He was in foul trouble a little bit, right?
I don't care. 2 shots.
Yes.
2 shots in 18 minutes. 2 shots.
I was going to ask you about him. Like, what is going on? Is that just
he's not a kid who's going to take it upon himself and just go outside the offense. You got to call something for him.
Mm-hmm.
He's your guy. He's the guy that can get to the foul line. He's your guy that can make something happen. He's the guy with the explosiveness to get somewhere. If you bring in a 5-star kid, a top 20 kid, and you got him out there with a bunch of really good college players, your 5-star kid's the one at the end of January that's supposed to be making something happen for you. Like, this is the time where you start calling plays for him. And they just don't. It's alarming to me that we're still going to Vescovi. Like, it's like, because not because he's a bad player, but because he can't get anywhere. Like, if you take away his shot, he can't get anywhere.
His role, if you use him as a spacer and a guy running off of screens to kind of catch and shoot, and as a weak side creator, right? You have someone else running the point that you draw and you kick and you let him attack a closeout. He's very, very good in that role. He's probably an all SEC kind of a guy in that role as your complementary piece. I don't think you want him to be your go-to guy.
No, he's not built for that.
I don't think you want him to do that because he's just limited. I do want to circle back on one thing though, because I want to finish up one point on Kentucky. I think we've had a lot of questions about Cal's coaching ability, right? We've criticized him here. We've criticized him on After Dark. We are not the only people that have criticized him. The answer is there now, right? We've seen something that has worked. There's proof of concept. It worked against Tennessee. It's worked throughout the entire season. And maybe now that there's some of it on tape, someone can find an answer and can find a way to adjust. But if we don't see significant minutes with the lineup that worked against Tennessee, in this game against Georgia, in this game against Texas A&M, and then the games coming up these next 2 weeks, then I think it's time to kind of say, like, Cal, what the fuck are you doing, man? Like, what are you not seeing here? Like, this works, right? You get those 2 shooters on the floor, you get your 5-star stud NBA lottery pick point guard, you got your athlete at the 4, and you got your national player year at the 5. Like, that lineup worked. Now let's see if he actually goes to it, because I'm not 100% convinced he's going to. He was forced to. He couldn't. The only reason he went to this lineup is because he had dudes out. That's not a like. That's worrying to me, guys. That's worrying to me.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes
he was feeling himself after that game, though, in the press conference. He was feeling himself. Go ahead, Fanta.
He had one moment in there, Fanta, where I don't mean to cut you off, but he had one more moment in there. He's like, "Yeah, we gave their guys the phone back in the morning. They were like." And what I have to do is I have to clip that out so there's no audio and it's just Cal doing this and then post that over something. So that's what I'm going to do. That's going to be the rest of my Martin Luther King Jr. Day.
Taking away phones. Like, really? I mean, I get it. I get why he did it. And I don't know. It feels like something that was being done in 2015. Like
I honestly don't hate it. I
I
honestly
don't
like,
hate it either. He puts those kids to bed.
yeah.
Get your kids some sleep. I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at the concept of that, but
man,
that's
No,
not
but
right.
here's the other part.
they
The
have
bigger
to
thing.
take away cell phones. What if mom's having a heart attack?
Then give the
Then
phone
you
to the
call the
coach. Let the
coach.
parents know, like, you have the phones. Like, there's ways that you can get in touch with them. The reason why I say that, Fanta, is because I think there is so much toxicity with these fan bases, and they have so much access to the players. Like, it's so hard. It's hard for me not to sit there and scroll through the comments and look at the ads and look at the mentions and look at what people say on YouTube, right? You're talking about 19-year-old kids, and they got to handle this criticism and go perform when you have the single most toxic environment you've ever had around the University of Kentucky basketball program in the social media era. So, like, I understand why he would do that. Just don't worry about what everyone else is saying. Focus on you, get your sleep, get up, get to talk to your teammates. Like, don't worry about the outside noise. And this is a way to make sure that they don't. Like, so
I will say this.
understand.
I will say this, Rob. The Kentucky players handle the criticism better than you do, because I see you going back at like made up fake accounts all the time.
Oh, I love it. I love going at them. I love going at them. But it's like you have to that stuff doesn't bother me, right? Because most of it is just like, I can't believe you had this horrible take. And it's like, who the fuck cares? It's like me getting on a camera and making a joke. This is their livelihood. This is their chance to change their family. They're 19. I'm 37 years old. There's way worse things that have been said to me than what people are saying on Twitter, right?
That's right.
So, like, I'm fine. I can handle it. 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds, like, it's a little bit different for them. And you also have the tidal wave of all of these people from BBN just coming at you at once. It's just, it can be a lot. It can be a lot. And I'll tell you this, and then you can finish your point, Finn. I'm sorry, I cut you off again. I'm happy for those kids, because a lot of those kids came into this situation and weren't necessarily expecting to become like to the villains, but to become the middlemen between a fan base that wants the coach out. So I'm happy that they were able to have a moment where at least they could smile. Like, CJ Frederick's on our podcast network, and he was smiling after that game. That's literally the first time I've seen him smile on a game in probably a month and a half. So I'm happy that they had their moment, even if it came at the expense of Terrence Oglesby's feelings.
My feelings are fine. Me and Fanta were stuck calling a William and Mary and Wilmington game that had 69 free throw attempts.
Nice.
It was awesome.
That happened. That really happened. Yeah, I mean, I let's see how the next couple of weeks go down for this team. It was good to see them get a win on Saturday over Tennessee, because if they didn't win that game, then you're sitting here saying, well, let's see, this week they've got Georgia and Texas A&M, and they've got Vandy on the road. And Vandy, by the way, wow. I mean, they beat Arkansas. Arkansas is now in a tough way. Losers of 4 of their last 5 games, and they've taken a spill. And then you've got Kansas in Lexington at the end of the month. And so look, they've got some traps here. They've got some tough games. I mean, I don't think I'm still not convinced that this team can put it all together every single game. And
I'm with you.
The SEC. I think that they'll find a way. I think their name will get called on Selection Sunday, because I think they'll do enough. But I'm still not convinced that they're a team that we're going to see like North Carolina, like last year when they go on that massive March Madness run. I don't think that's this Kentucky team.